not to be missed interview with Skye. I'm really excited to be sharing this with you today. She's healed chronic fatigue. I mean, serious sickness from 8 years of age right up until into her 40s, where she has been struggling in and out of hospital, having a lot of surgeries, not living her life, and doctors can only get you so far. And now raw foods is absolutely helping her thrive, and she wants to share this with you all. I'm super excited to inspire you with this great interview with Skye. Enjoy. Hey Skye, so do you want to introduce yourself, where you're from, and we'll talk about more of like your past. How we structured this call is a bit like the past and the present, and then where the future is, and that's how I kind of go with these interviews. So go ahead, introduce yourself, what you're doing, and where you currently are at the moment.
Okay, my name is Skye Conway, but I was sick from when I was 8. I'm now 41. I was sick, so that was 32 years I was sick, and quite sick, so 20 years of that I was in bed most of the time. And I've had over 60 operations. I'm missing most of my stomach, my duodenum, top of my intestines. I spent most of this time either in hospitals or not being able to do anything. I haven't really worked. And not this time last year, so about a year and a half ago, at the start of 2021, I discovered raw foods. And I did this by accident. So I'd been vegan for 3 years, 2 years, maybe 3 years. And I finally moved out of home for the first time, and I started making food for myself. And as I was making the foods, I noticed very quickly that anything cooked, and I mean cooked as in basically cooked, like steamed pumpkin and steamed cauliflower, I would be in bed again with what you would call chronic fatigue symptoms for up to 4 days. If I had salads or raw, like just fruits, I could actually do things. When I say do things, I mean I could get down and put the washing on. I could maybe walk out and put some groceries away. Not big things, but small. And I did not know what a raw vegan was. My story is quite extensive. So when I was coming into this stage, I had contracted shingles a few years. What shingles had come out? It's from chickenpox, and that then triggered something. They called it a neurological functional disorder, where it was like having a stroke. Couldn't walk, talk, get out of bed. My parents needed to do everything for me. And as I came out of this, I started drinking to cope with my life, basically missing my whole life. When I was coming out, I was like obviously dealing with a lot, and so that's kind of, I guess.
I want to know more. Wow. So you started to get really sick from 8 years of age. So pretty much all that is so you can remember is just being sick all, most of your
Yeah,
life. So what
yeah.
what happened? What at 8? What how did that start?
Okay, I got chickenpox, and it was a normal bout of chickenpox. It wasn't extreme or anything. And then I went back to school, and I couldn't get through a whole week of school. So I'd get to say Friday, and my grandparents would have to pick me up. I'd fall asleep on my desk. And then it would be Thursday, I'd only make it to in a week. And then Wednesday, Tuesday, I was seeing doctors, and they were saying it was things from like chronic fatigue, glandular fever. Mind you, chronic fatigue and glandular fever were very new but I guess more trend, like coming out very fast when they didn't know what was wrong with people. But eventually an ear, nose and throat doctor found that my tonsils had been eaten away by a bacteria, and I never had tonsillitis. He said, we need to take them out. And mind you, so I was sick, just tired. When I say sick, I mean chronic fatigue symptoms. So basically I couldn't function. My neck was like this, like my glands, there was no temperature, but my neck was like, you couldn't move my neck. And so anyway, they took my tonsils and my adenoids out, and then I recovered and I got well. It was about 4 years. I had a good 4 years, not perfect, but good. And then if I can go into the next stage of what happened is, I got to about 16, I started to get pelvic pain and back pain. And it was really acute. Like I was going to doctors for it. I didn't know what was wrong. I was starting to hear things like, we don't know what's wrong with you. We're giving you, like, I'm having scopes and it's all clear. They're saying irritable bowel, a bit of fibromyalgia. And I'm literally not being able to function. So naturopaths are trying to help me with things. And there was things like that herbs and stuff that which were helping a bit. But then I was going to, I ended up with my pelvic pain got so bad, I ended up going to gynecologists. And they said I had a hormone imbalance and then polycystic ovaries. But the amount of pain I was in was not congruent to how, like, I could not function, to a point where I was seeing, it was a neurologist, a gynecologist, and he had somebody doing a biofeedback test for pain on my pelvis. And they have a start point. For when people are going into labor, they use this biofeedback to relax their muscles. So they kind of train when pain comes on, they talk themselves through and they can actually get a reading on a machine. This machine, when they put it on me, had no start point. So usually even a woman who's in labor pain, that much labor pain, still has a start point on the screen. I was in so much pain, they couldn't get a start point, so they couldn't use the machine. And that was only, I hadn't even left school. So like, this is what they're not figuring out how this is all into play. And then you're tired all the time, your hair's falling out, you're losing weight, like as much as people say, I just have chronic fatigue, I'm going to say here, it's like your body just melting away. Most disease is, right, it starts somewhere and then you just feel yourself falling in, and start diagnosing you with all sorts of things. But mostly it was like these hormone imbalances. There was cysts and things, and then they were going in and to try and relieve the pain, they were taking away glands. They were going in, they were removing glands. They were giving me like flash light bulb inside to try and like strip away the surface, to try and get what you call clean surface, because it's getting a thickening in there. All sorts of kind of things. I'd had a lot of like exploratory surgeries, these surgeries taking bits of me out and light bulbing me. And then I got to a stage where I thought I'd given up. I went into another professor. I think he was a professor. He was trained. He was more just a gynecological surgeon. So he went in, and this time I woke up and it was like my back, or before he even came in and told me what happened, my back like clicked, like popped back in. I'm like, oh my God, my pain is gone. Like I had other pains in my body, of course, from like holding myself up, but what I called my pain was gone. And he said to me, till the pathology came back, I didn't know what it was called, but he said, I found something in you. I haven't seen it before. I've taken it out. And I'm like, oh my God. And like, I couldn't believe it. Like my life changed in that, like when I woke up from this surgery. Anyway, the pathology came back, and it was actually a piece of uterus that had attached itself to nerves and ligaments on my uterosacral ligament near my spine. And the problem with a disease like this, or this occurs congenital, so it would have occurred when I was in my mum's womb. A little piece would have floated across. In most people, your body sees it as a pathogen and breaks it all down. But in me, it attached to the ligament, and then my body built around it. Now, they believe that at the age of 8, a female her body starts to release hormones to prepare for, puberty and her period and all of that. So there's a like they don't know whether it was, probably the chickenpox and this, but at that age, having 2 uteruses, the brain marks that as double estrogen. Like it thinks it's doing double. That is a lot of the problem why I feel heightened pain, because I had they believe that I have a higher level of estrogen receptors in my brain. Anyway, so I had that surgery, and it was 2 years it was still recovery from being through all of that, but I worked and I functioned. And then I remember getting into work one day, and I was like, I said to someone, my pain's back. Like, I know my pain. It's like, no, nothing else. So now we're managing it with anti-inflammatories, like prescription and over the counter. And I was slowly getting anemic, but I was still having surgeries at this point to try and relieve the pain. And they were doing like scans, but more local, not going in like to take anything more out. And so I'm taking pain relief, and the doctor's saying it's from the surgeries that you're having, and it's because of what you've got that you're losing more blood and all of this type of thing. Anyway, next minute we came home from work on the Friday early, and then by the Sunday, Mum could hear banging around the house, and I couldn't stay conscious. And what had actually happened was I had a bleeding ulcer from the anti-inflammatories that had perforated and I'd lost so much blood in my body, I couldn't stay conscious. There wasn't enough for my brain. But because I was so used to pain, I kept functioning. Like I literally pass out and get up and just go back to bed and didn't realize I was passing out. Anyway, ended up in emergency. They still thought it was my back pain. And then a gastro doctor said, have you had any other pains? I said, sort of, but it's this, it's my back. So anyway, he went in and 14 hours later, they brought in a trauma surgeon and they tried to repair it. And then I was in ICU, HCU, came out of that. And then that fell apart again. Eventually they had to take most of my stomach, my duodenum, top of my intestines out. Then after that, I had to recover from that. And then I was still in pain. So the other surgeon for my back did not want to go in because I'd had so much at this stage. Like that was like, so eventually another doctor said, you kind of have to, this girl can't, she knows her pain. So anyway, he eventually went back in and he found, unfortunately, he'd made a surgical error, and it's not his fault because, they'd never seen it before, but they left a piece, and it seems like the cells, the wound being open, it latched onto my bowel, my bladder, that kind of thing. Like every time they went in after, because they went in again and again to try and help me, it was always coated in kind of like similar things. Anyway, cut a long story short, this cycle kept building, and the surgery, he tried to take out more, but it was kind of too late. I think my body had been through too much. The amount of, you would not believe the amount of fentanyl, OxyContin, endone, Valium, antidepressants, stimulants, hormone replacement that I was on for probably 7 years with a walking stick when I was restricted to kind of bed. Eventually they found out putting me in medical induced menopause stopped my pain, but there's obviously a lot going on, but stopped my pain. And I said, I can't do this anymore. Give me a hysterectomy. Just I can't stay on chemicals.
Wow.
They did that. The pain went, but at this stage I'd hit like 37 kilograms, for maybe 45 to 37. At my worst, I was 37. And every time I lowered the pain medication after that, I would vomit. I was so sick. I was just deteriorating. Then I was like in ICU more. They didn't know why my body was shutting down. Then eventually I kind of lost my memory or had a break with reality, and had to get some mental health help. I came out of that with missing a lot of trauma memory, but I got well for about a year. This is only in 2018. And at that point I was paleo. I did quite well, not like this well, but I did quite well, but I really had no memory of the suffering I'd been through or all that. So at the end of that year, when I started to try and learn naturopathy, in fact, I couldn't retain any information, not even 2 lines. And that built into this almost like anxiety. But at the same time, this is when I got shingles. I got this big rash across my eye. And interestingly enough, this comes from chickenpox, which started all of that. Anyway, that went kind of standard shingles, was not very nice, very foggy, but by the end of it, I couldn't get up again. And then we were in Singapore at the time, and I vomited for like 10 hours on the way home, and then got home, and slowly each day it was like my body was shutting down to the point where you could touch me and I just wouldn't feel anything. And that's where they said, whether it was, it depends who doctor you go to, right? But it ended up being a neurologist who said you need to go to a neurological hospital, because I couldn't walk, I couldn't talk most days. Couldn't even butter toast. I remember having to learn to butter toast again in this hospital for 10 weeks. Came out of that, I was just, to be trapped back and know my hair was falling out, I was not able to function, and knowing what my past was just those last 3 years before I came out of this must have been like that dark night of the soul. I'll tell you what, you're literally, nothing can help you. I ended up then mostly in mental health hospitals for about a year and a half, like acute mental health hospitals. But at the same time, I couldn't get up. So it was like this. They didn't know whether it was, a lot of the time when I went to these mental health hospitals, they were treating me with chronic fatigue because no hospital would take me. And then when I got really acute, I still couldn't walk. Like I couldn't do anything. So I got home and eventually got me on some medication, which was getting me up and moving. And then I started drinking. But then very quickly my liver started to not work, and I was in hospital for that. And that's where mum and dad said, you need to move out now. And I did. And that was where I drunk 3 more times, but I was still, sorry, when this all started, with back shift a bit with the shingles, I just had this calling to go vegan. I kept seeing this message like, don't eat things with a face. You just don't. Like, I was very sensitive when this dark night of the soul, or whatever you want to call it, right?
Yeah.
So when I moved out of home, I was making just very fresh foods. And that's when I come back to how I didn't, as you can tell, I was drinking. I couldn't read. I couldn't do much at all. And then I stumbled across this. And the first place I was called, like I had this calling to go, is Instagram, because it has photos. Like, it's very easy for us to always relate to pictures. And I saw people, raw vegans, and I went, I'm a raw vegan, and stuck to some very simple rules. And all the rule was, is it's raw, I felt good, and I'll eat it. And from there, my life has just like I've got a website, I've written an ebook, I swum in the ocean all winter. I'm a support worker in disability. I play with my nieces. I dance 8 hours a week. I still swim. I run. Like, it's not, we're not talking here a girl just getting rid of the back pain here. We're talking about a girl that gets up and is just thriving.
Yeah.
So to go
Yeah.
from all that to this is just incredible.
It's unbelievable. Like you're gonna be famous. What you've been through, my gosh, it's like a new lease of life, isn't it? Like it must
Yes.
be absolutely wow. And you've pulled through that. That is so amazing. Resilience right at you there.
I think
Wow.
the greatest thing is, and the greatest gift that comes with this diet, is how much self-love is key. And when you apply that to everything that's happened, I don't blame doctors, I don't blame um, even myself, anybody. Do you know what I mean? Like, every person in their industry, whatever, is trying to do the right thing. And once you do that, you're applying love everywhere. You start applying it to your swimming and your website, and you can't stop. It just keeps coming. So I think that is like, that's because a lot of people get stuck,
Yeah.
really stuck with these, like, this happened to me, I want to sue, I want to do this. And it's like, no, literally, like, look what can happen
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
love.
And that is a higher frequency and it helps so I feel like that helps the healing and the process, and it's much more, yeah, an easier way to be rather than being angry. And it's not always easy, for some. But if we can see more of those that are showing what they've been through and how they're loving
Yeah,
their way through it.
I agree completely with you. I think it's key that we show. That's why I love sharing people's stories, because as much as I think people talk to me and they go, oh, but I haven't been through what you've been through. And I'm like, but it's relative, right? You don't know that amount, and your body does become numb. Like, you'd be surprised. Obviously, you could know what people can be through, but what somebody's going through. I even think when I first got sick again, when I was 16, laying in my grandma's bed going, okay, I can get through this because by next week it'll be gone. It's just a stomach bug. Like that's how people think when they first get sick. You adapt, right? So don't ever think that yours is not major, because in your mind you haven't known other levels of things. So it's
Yeah.
all really important to share, because it just, someone's story might click.
Yeah, and even just an element of something like even the chronic fatigue for some people, that even though they're still in their work, but they're struggling, they're really they're tired all the time. They don't. Oh, but it's nothing. It is. You can, and you can, just by listening to these stories. Yeah, yours is like so
Mm,
many. Wow, it's crazy how you've come so far, but just
mm,
taking something from that and
mm,
then having that hope that if you've gone through all that what they're going through, no matter how you feel, is that you're going to move through it. And
mm.
I feel, yeah, we got to be careful because there's the victim. It's also acknowledgement that what you're going through, it's important, and it
Yes.
is, but we can shift it, and the empowerment comes from that we can take ownership of that. And you've
Mm.
just shown us, right? Wow. And it hasn't been an easy journey. I'm sure that, well, there's been times where you're just like, what, why am I here? Like, what's going on? Where's the gifts in this? uh
Yes.
what did your family, how was your family through all this? So your mum and dad, you lived with your mum and dad for many years?
But until I was 40, just before I was 40, I moved out of home. They were amazing. They moved heaven and earth for me in every way possible. When I did get well, what I did feel anger towards is basically that I never knew what raw foods is. So maybe I feel that that's what my job is, right? Is like, so with my nieces, they're very aware what raw foods is. If they ever get sick in their life, they can look in and go, Auntie Skye healed with this. Why don't I try this? I think back to when I was a kid at school, and I think of what I was taught about health. We had this happy, healthy Harold come to the school, this puppet giraffe. I think if he instilled, it's not you have to only eat raw foods, but if he instilled, lots of people are finding benefits from, raw foods. Or did you know it's not just eat fruit and vegetables? Did you know you should have raw fruit and raw vegetables each day? I wonder if something like that could have helped. Like I believe I had support in every area, but everyone was putting a lot of money and effort into it, and those industries are not what healed me. So they cannot, it can almost be a curse, right? Is you can go so far down with professors and specialists, and to a point where if somebody says something natural to me, and this is the goddamn truth, is if they said it to me, say 7 years ago, I'd be like, do you know how sick I am? What is an apple going to do for me? So I feel like I had to go through that these last, like, let's 5 years or whatever it was of this, I don't know, it was like this awakening to get to where I am. But it's like that stripping back where you have to see reality for what it is. It's not what you're taught at school. It's not what a book says. It's truthfully not even what the raw vegan next to me says. It's literally what each day my heart says works for me. Like we were talking before about cooked foods, and I was saying how, that might be the calling somebody has to have raw till 4, and that works. And if you try to eat all raw, you start getting negative self-talk, and then that does not work for you. You have to go at your level, like where your heart and what you feel. I just feel that is the biggest key. It's not even like what diet somebody else prescribes to you. You can't stick to that. You've got to do what's in your heart every day. I think that's like the real key here to the healing.
It's loving the journey, isn't it? I feel
Yes.
you can just love the process and accept where you are. And that is where it opens up more experimentation rather than resisting all the time and putting yourself down and this negative, critical self talk. You start to understand. I don't want to be fully. That was me for 6 years. I don't want to be fully raw. I feel I'm doing well on it, but the more raw days I was having, I thought, okay, let's play with this. I'm open now. I wasn't ready for it. So there's times that's why I feel seek out. It's really nice to have so many different views and opinions and seeing stories like you're sharing a lot of the stories. It's amazing to see because you might not at that time resonate. It's like I always use the analogy of you read a book one year and you're like, you take a few nuggets and then you reread it the next year or a couple of years later and it's like a new book. I'm like, what?
Yes.
Why is all these nuggets come? It's just that timing was just not in alignment for where you are. So just follow the bliss, follow where you resonate and trust the process and love that process. I feel I need to take my own, I know this, and then you fall back into, and love that as well. Love that you're just falling back into certain patterns. But as long as we can love it, love the journey. I keep reaffirming that regularly. Love the journey, Tony, wherever you are, because this is not forever. It's seasons. When you feel like you're going through some dark times, you do move through it. You shift through it, and there's a lot of enlightenment in these dark times. It's where as Rumi says, it's where the light enters, and these dark times, these wounds.
Yeah, and I think it's so true. So when you say fall in love with the process, it's why don't jump in head first type thing. It's like if you find raw foods, you are gonna hate just juicing for a week. Like that is just, I don't know how a person wraps their head around that. No wonder you then go back to how you work. If you just start incorporating a little more, you start thinking about it a little more. And then like you end up going, oh, I don't want to be a raw vegan. I'm a raw vegan. Like, you know, it just, but it's when you're ready. And that comes back when you're around different people. We each take something different from each soul, right? So everyone may tell a story, but 3 people come away and tell different parts, or they took something different from it. And that's where they're each resonating. And, you know, the next year, the next season, they will see something different, or something else might pop up that they've learned. And you just keep going and love the process. Like that is so true. Like, the whole entire time from when I discovered raw foods, I've loved it. Like I'm not going to say that it's not. I don't even like the word work. It's I don't know what I don't even.
You know,
Sorry.
it's exciting that you're exploring all these new foods,
Yeah.
enjoying that.
It is, but also when you the challenges come with a pleasure. So when you sit at, I'll give this example, I think often, but when you sit at a restaurant for the first time, I mean, I hadn't been out most of my life, and then you say, I don't want any. You don't say I don't want anything on the menu, but you order a salad which isn't on the menu, or you call ahead and you say, can I put together, you know, a certain thing. Is you stand out. People will ask questions, and you may feel out of the group, but what you're actually bringing into the world is a gift. Each time you do that, you're literally sitting there saying, you don't need to do all of that. You can have this, enjoy the company, enjoy the view, enjoy the architecture, enjoy the conversation. There's so much more. And so I walk away feeling proud, not, oh, I wish I had this and I wish I had that. Plus, when you walk away, I get to go for a swim because I feel so good, or sit in nature. You get gifts all the time.
Yeah, that was a big thing. I'm glad you've said that, because when I used to go out, my anxiety was so strong. I would just want to eat all I focused on was what I'm going to eat, you know, stuff my face, so that I could just focus on eating rather than having conversations, when it was, in fact, I was just more nervous speaking to others or in large groups, rather than, so I shifted that to, let's just go and be present with these individuals, learn about them, ask them, and they
Yeah.
meet some amazing people, make great connections, rather than it be about the food, you know.
Yeah.
And I loved, so that's what happened even with going out drinking as well, you know, instead of partying with just heavy drinks, I would go and enjoy the music, enjoy the
Yes.
energy, rather, and then feel great through that, and then I didn't have a hangover, and I could drive
That's
home
right.
without being freezing waiting for a taxi. And then I wouldn't go for, like, I used to have kebabs after a drink, you know, and do all these, that as a domino effect. So
Yes.
when you can see that there is, yeah, and it's not until I was, like, through reading and listening to others, how they discovered how to move through these the shift, you know, these transition times. I was like, wow, that's a great way to put it. If we can shift through just how we feel, how we're gonna feel, and look at it differently, it's a big game changer. You know,
Yeah.
I'm
It
glad
is.
you said that, through going, just enjoying the like you said, just the buildings, being like, just being
Yeah.
there,
That's
enjoying, like, it's all new again. It's all like, wow, I didn't recognize these,
that's
you know,
right.
in the building, you know,
Appreciate
these,
them.
yeah.
You can appreciate them so much more, and you just, it's yeah, I think it's just so important. I think the other thing is a lot of the times when we go out to these places, is just say you're going out to dinner straight from work, is you're stressed. You've got through the day, so you can feel good by having a drink and having some rich food at dinner. Like, do you know what I mean? And that purpose does not exist in my reality anymore. So that's beyond shifted. That does not exist. Like, I literally go, and even if I can't stay for the whole 5 hours, I bring my energy for 2 hours, and I am like high vibe. Like, and the reason I sometimes don't stay as long as other people is because a lot of people drink and they'll eat like 7 courses, where I actually want to go and give my energy to the world. Like, my purpose has changed. My purpose is not to drink and eat 7 meals anymore. It's to see my friends, have a good conversation, and then go give to the world, because that's, I feel, my calling.
Yeah, quality. I like that. You bring
Yes.
quality time Oh, that,
Yes.
yeah. Yeah, I think that is a great way. Yeah, great way of going for that good. And then you leave on a high. You give
Yes.
that. No one else will be like, wow, they'll be missing you when you're gone. They'll be like, what? And then
That's
they drink
right.
to keep that energy.
That's right. And the other thing that always happens is people are like, "Oh, you were there last night, blah blah blah, and it's such and such." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, but I was only there for the first 2 hours." And they're like, "Oh, no one remembers anything after that anyway."
Yeah.
And I'm like, I kind of knew that, but it's funny. Like, it's like, so they've consumed, they've spent money, they've made themselves feel bad, and they don't remember it.
No. What
Sorry,
me?
something outside just fell over.
Oh. Yeah, well, yeah, you feel like, wow, why spend and why, yeah, if you're not going to remember it.
That's right. Like, it's so like,
I feel
yeah.
bad.
That's
Yeah.
it's like, you can shift and change your whole reality.
Yeah. Can I go back to your family then? So
Sure.
they didn't have I bet it was very frustrating for them, um and like, was it difficult as well when you left? So, they feel, I bet that was a parting, because it must have.
So what happened was, is remember, I left after I'd been drinking. So I could not get up, but also it was obviously very destructive behavior. Um, and my mum also has Lyme's. So it can only take so much stress. And I don't know. What I do know is when I did move out, is I'd never had my own space before, because especially being that sick, you've always got people in your space. And so it's that extra level of clearing, which I believe was also crucial to me healing, because I don't know whether many people are very aware of just how much other people's energies impact our thoughts, our feelings, what we decide to do. Even when you feel sick, you'll feel guilty to go and put something on for dinner or something, because when you can strip that back, and I'm not saying that everybody can do this, but I was blessed that I had no children, and I adore my nieces, but at that time, I've got just me. Like, if you're that sick, if you can get just you, it's so all my mind had to do each day is know that, there was, at the start, I'd just feed myself, right? That's all I knew I had to do, is feed myself. And there was also, my family was there, but in the back, like, very pushed back. I didn't want anyone. The world I was in at that time, nobody could understand what I'd been through. No one could understand the reactions to people's conversations, because I'd missed most of my life out in the real world. So it was like, but it was an awakening of that I was so different as well, and just so much confrontation. So they were in the background, but I got triggered very easily, because I would think I was trying to do things myself and people were trying to help. So it was much better that they were in the background, is how I see it. So when I needed things, I remember I could barely read and write. So when I needed to talk to people, my dad would help me. We'd go for a walk and he'd help me. A lot of the time it was just me in my space. That's how this all developed. And I'm not sure how it was for all of them. I think it was probably a tough decision, but I think we can all see the results.
Yeah.
And I don't believe it could have happened earlier. I believe it had to happen when it did. Like, I for this to all fall into place. If that, you have to be beyond dark. Like, I don't know anybody could ever conceptualize, like, even so, if you think about all the things I talked about physically that I'd been through up until the point of, like, even when it went downhill again, still to that point, no matter how much suffering I'd endured, my mind had not gone to where it did
Yeah.
for that last, say, 8 months before I stepped out, or maybe even more, 2 years before I've stepped into the light, let's say it. You can't, there's no words to describe. It's very, it's not the same as, you have to know is, when you go through a severe amount of pain, your body has some sort of coping mechanism that kicks in. So I'll give you an example. When I'm sick, if I needed to go to the beach or was invited to the beach, first off, my body would probably clench up already, because even wind on my skin would send me into acute pain, even a few steps. So it would be so, I knew I'd have to get out of bed, get up the stairs, get into a car. That's a huge amount of taking pain relief. So coming off it, I didn't want to take it anymore. So that would come into my head. Then once you're there, you're like, right, I've taken this amount. So if I can get there, if I sit on a chair and I have a hot water bottle and I also take 2 more tablets, I will get to there. Then I will get home and then I'll be in bed. That is a day. That is probably half an hour at the beach for me. Compared to now, I'm like running past the beach, coming back, diving in the water, swimming a K out the back, coming back, sitting on the sand, getting my acai bowl, walking up, getting watermelons and fruit. Like it's when you live like that, your mind does not. So when I go to the beach now, I also spend a lot of time thinking, oh, how fun was it when I was little, and I'd run along the sand and swim with my dad and my sister. Those are things that are able to come up now. When you're in survival mode of just getting to places when all you know is you are in the least amount of pain in bed, your mind does not, it's like your body's literally keeping you in a little cocoon, right? Once the pain left, the painkillers have gone, my mind kind of snapped in some sort of way to cope, right? It fractured to kind of deal with all of this. When the memories came up is when I started drinking. Because I was like literally laying there and couldn't really move from these shingles, this PTSD, this neurological functional disorder. And then you've got all of this trauma coming up and you can't escape it. I was having fits, even like full-on fits before I went into hospital. And you can't escape it, but there's no barrier. So like alcohol's a barrier, so is pain. So if you've got pain, your brain is constantly like doing a feedback to your knee or your back, my back in my case, right? Once that all lifted, it's like I had, and all the medication and a ton of medication's gone. I had to process like all of that time. And that was what will be any person's biggest battle. So you can survive the absolute horrendousy of some incident, right? But because your brain has some underlying way of doing it. But when you actually have to face going out in front of people and people say things like, and you're so raw, like you've been so like, even pain coats you, like you literally got your own endorphins pumping through to cope with pain. Once that's all lifted, that part is the part where you've really got to look inside you and go, what is it that the universe is asked of me? Like what, like, and when you ask the universe that, you're actually asking yourself, because every cell in your body was made from the universe. And all I did, truthfully, this is what I did, is how I got well, is everything I seemed to do when I got better had a negative consequence. And I'd read so much over the years because that's all I could do, right? So even if you have, like, oh gosh, what's an example? Even if somebody said, have some toast, right? Even what would come to my mind is, well, burnt toast is not that, if there's you've got gluten in the bread, people are saying carbs are bad. So that comes with a negative connotation. If you sit in the sun too long, that's a bad thing, right? When I got well, how I stumbled on this, I felt really connected to the universe and the moon and the sun, very much like I could only survive because I got out by myself in the sun and the moon each night. But what came apparent was the fresh fruit and vegetables and dipping yourself in the ocean and getting a little bit of sunlight with some music each day. None of those things had negative connotations that I'd learned, that I'd seen in the media, that had, I think there's like things like people will say something like eggs are good for you because of this. And then the same newspaper has said eggs give you such and such, like the exact same newspaper, like I think only 2 years apart. And we're ingesting this all the time. And you have to remember, I'm trying to start my life here. So I'm trying to grasp onto what life is and everything. So I kind of like shifted and just did in my own little space things that I wouldn't feel bad about. And then people wouldn't go, oh, you shouldn't do that. That causes this. You shouldn't do that. And then what seemed to happen is I not only felt better, but people would say to me, oh, that's amazing. So people are also giving you the cheer on. So because you would say to someone, what did you do today? And I'd be like, I got up, had some fruit. I did manage to hang my clothes out. I listened to some music in the sun and then I dipped in the ocean. And people go, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So if I had said, I don't know, I made some ice cream, sat in front of the television, drunk a bottle of beer, people go, you shouldn't do that. So it was like a really basic level where we actually know, and we don't just know in our hearts, we know because people say it, we know because the looks on people's faces, and that's not them judging you, that's you judging you. If you feel bad because people are going, you shouldn't drink beer in front of the television, and people are like, oh, you shouldn't judge me, blah, blah, blah. You're the one that's reacting to that, right? So you know inside of you that really the way you don't get that whole bad negative energy thing is don't drink the beer in front of the television.
Yeah.
You just cut all of that out.
Yeah, it's so true. That is a really good way to put things. Well, it's back to simplicity, back to the basics. What it is.
My brain couldn't do higher functioning. It was very simple that I felt I was so raw and sensitive. I felt good in the moon. I felt good in the sun. I felt good with water, with fresh fruit and veg. Music as well has really helped me. And I would dance. I still dance, but I wasn't like at a dance school then. I could dance. So this is when I first got some energy back. I would dance for like 10 minutes or maybe 10 minutes. And then I'd like it was like how I didn't dance straight away, but it built up. And these are the things that when someone said what you did, you also get positive feedback. So it's like the universe just loving you, and you're just loving you, and you're loving what you're doing, you're loving your journey, and it's just built.
Yeah. Wow. It's just magical, isn't it? Your story's amazing. Absolutely. Just bringing it. I think this is your purpose, isn't it? This is what you're sharing. This is what you're doing now. You're sharing so much good, and the foods, and your Instagram's amazing. I know that you're sharing other people's stories, and the foods are delicious. It's even inspired me. I'm simpler. I like my smoothie bowls, but your salads are amazing. I'm going to be doing a lot of those. And your recipe book's due to come out, isn't it?
So what I have is I have a recipe. So I have the raw website, and I have a recipes. There's like 80 free recipes on that. Now, as I was getting well, I started to notice that there was favorite foods that I was creating and really enjoying. And they're a bit fancier, but the purpose of the ebook is that they help with cravings. So a lot of what I did when I got well was the reason these big salads came out is you're really in this mental game, right? And when you think of what I was fed for years, high fat and high sugar to try and gain weight, like these protein shakes on top of eat cake, eat what you can, that will make you. So you really then got to, I've made like gnocchis and pizzas. So those are in an ebook you can buy, but there is 80 free recipes and there's more. So I've got I made, I think close to 400 to 500 recipes. Like I literally every day just create recipes. And I've just got to enter them in. So I've created a new database. The old one couldn't contain all the recipes. So I've made a new one that's got all filters, and that is about to come out. So, and people can just use it. So it's just there for people to get, and use.
Amazing. Well, so what's your day of eating look like? Because you started when you first went raw, obviously totally different to where you are now. You've been over a year now raw. What did it start out like? Let's go from even the transition. So what were you starting in the transition period?
So when I was at home and having vegan food, mostly when I say there was like junk food vegan, it was still like from a health food store. So it was like rice chips or like, I don't know, there'd be like sourdough bread and things like that. That was when I was living at home. And there was things like mum would always make me, there was like an Indian influence into a lot of what she made, like patties with curry powder in them out of vegetables. Then when I moved out, I literally would just go to the fruit and vegetable store, and my brain was functioning at such a small capacity. Like it was literally just getting through moments, right? So I would get what would come to mind is like a tomato with maybe some steamed pumpkin. So I would roast tomatoes and then steam some pumpkin. There was no conceptualizing of raw foods at this point. I still wasn't really getting anywhere. And then as I added fruit in the mornings, and then I would have more of a raw bowl. So I would do like cauliflower rice. So I wouldn't use anything but maybe a little bit of coconut oil. It was all just fresh except for maybe some paprika and turmeric and some herbs. in whatever I was making. And then I might do some black beans with some cauli rice and salad. But I still hadn't put it all together until I'd eaten just raw salad type things for a couple of days. Then I would go and do one of these, like, roasted tomatoes with steamed pumpkin. As soon as I ate the pumpkin, I'm like, I've got to go to bed. Like, all of it came back. And then I would go salad a bit. And then I tried the cauli rice cooked, because I would do that with like turmeric. I found it when I first was stopping drinking, it really was helping me. And I think it's because when you're being vegan, you're not able to eat a lot of heavy foods, which can compensate for the drinking. But this like rice thing with turmeric in it used to really help. And then I ate it. I'm like, I've got to go back to bed. And then I'm like, just eating raw foods. And then I discovered a raw vegan, and all I did was eat raw foods, as in my mind, it was classified as raw. But I was very heavy on the fats and nuts, as in, like, I wouldn't stop. I was underweight, and my goal, the reason for this was my only goal in my head. I knew that if I got hungry or unsatisfied, I would go back, and I couldn't risk going back. I couldn't, no matter how bad the going back was. If you're told you can only eat apples for the rest of your life, people can't imagine that, right? So my goal was eat as many avocados, eat as much, whatever you want, Skye, as long as it's raw. That was my rule. Yeah. But very quickly I'm cutting out salts. I'm cutting out even the dried things. And not that it made a huge not that it made a dramatic difference in my health. Just going raw was the biggest thing, right? But it's like a calling you have. And what you need to understand, and I say to a lot of people that come to me and want to go raw, is eat whatever you want. And I know a lot of people are like, no, you've got to do 80-10-10. And yes, I believe you'll get there. But to go from the diets that most people are on to 80-10-10, and you can't combine this food, man, if you combine the food, you'll get gas, a little bit of diarrhea at worst. If you're anaphylactic, that's a whole different story. But besides that, no person ends up in hospital. We're talking about and it doesn't last long because it's fruit, combining fruit. And even if it's nuts, the most it's going to last is a day, right? So you learn. What happens, I find, on this diet is everything is so loud because it's just fruits and veg, right? That even if you keep combining pineapple and bananas and get gas, I give it by the 10th, I'd say the 8th time, you will be like, I'm not going to do that again. So my thing is that's the way to do it. Even if it's not, you're still going to be doing better off than than eating a sad diet is what.
I think. Yeah, exactly. Like,
just eat the raw. And what the other thing I want to mention here is what I've experienced so far with people. I'm by far not the world's expert on this, but people who have been chronically sick cannot stay on raw to 4 and get well. And when I mean chronically sick, it seems like someone who has an ailment over, say, 6 months. It seems that and there's always like that underlying chronic fatigue or Epstein-Barr that comes with this type of thing, right? Even if it started off with a sore knee that got so bad you end up with fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue. If you're already a healthy person, it seems people can transition quite much more freely with, and I said freely because she's raw to 4, but they can a lot better if it's weight loss and you haven't hit that chronic illness. But from what I've seen, and a lot of people and it can't even do it with that, right? They go to juicing. But from what I've seen, just miracles happen with raw food and a belief in it, no matter what type. And what I said as well, it's when I first started this and I stopped drinking and I stopped nuts and I stopped cooked foods, I always say to people, I'm only doing it for now, because my mind could not imagine doing it forever. And I don't know, a lot of people who are raw go back to cooked foods, right? Or they go back to different variations of their diet. So because your body needs different things, and if you've got a healthy body, I'm sure you can do a lot more with it. So I've never restricted myself. I said, no, so always keep, because then you've got different tools at hand, right? Like that you can use as you go along if you need to throughout life. If you live in Antarctica, maybe you want warm soups, so you never want to say, You never
Yeah.
want to say never. But what did happen is, I guess, and I think this would apply to anybody, is right. So what I was eating at the start was I would get up, have fruits. Now, food combining I did not know about. I kind of heard but couldn't understand what I was reading. So I would just eat any fruits I desired. So I'd get to a fruit shop and I would buy whatever fruits I wanted and whatever salad things were calling me. So I'd eat fruit and nuts, dried fruits, nuts all of the day. Then by about 4 o'clock, I make a salad and I would put that salad I would love. I'd love chilies. I'd love lime. I'd love, I'd got carrots, zucchinis, lettuce, fennel, like just all chopped up, mixed together, corn, whatever I was desiring, I'd put in. At the start, it was a lot. Obviously, my body was deprived. And I'd love those salads. Those salads would be like what I was living for because I'm a salty person. And like then at night, sometimes I'd have 2 or 3 more avocados. I could not stop eating avocados for about 10 months. Like most days, it was 4 a day. And I did manage to put on 12 kilos in a year. So raw foods, you can put on weight. But then in winter, that kind of changed. I did a lot of blended soups with things like sweet potatoes and carrots, and then the Vitamix heats it a little bit. So that was really nice. But still, I was always looking forward to that savory in the afternoon. Now that it's summer again and spring, I noticed, and we have mangoes and papayas. They're just amazing. Mangoes are just incredible here at the moment. I feel better eating mangoes, like out of all the fruits. I notice now because I'm so clear things I have a sensitivity to, but I'm really great at the moment. I could just mono-meal off mangoes all day and papayas like separately, even them combining, even though they don't react too much. Now I'm so like clear, you can feel it, and I just love the mono meals. And I'm getting to the stage now where the hydration and the exercise, I'm much better if I do fruits all day. But if I want something, I will have like some cucumber noodles with maybe just the tomato and mango blended. I don't add all the garlic and onions. So I didn't mention that before. I was adding all those as well. I do notice it's not that they make me sick again, like where I used to be. It's that they take a toll on your body where what I'm doing now is fueling, like I'm fueling the cells. Like it's like my whole body is just fueled. And you can get so much more out of your work and your day if you eat to what works. But there's a whole trauma psychological thing that's wrapped around food. So at the start, when you're healing, honor that, honor where you've come from and eat whatever it is you need. You will believe that you will get. I didn't even know I'd get to this stage. I would have been happy still eating the nuts and the whatever, but I don't eat nuts anymore. I'm not sure I could digest them anymore. I had a calling. So when I was doing this, I would look in my bowl and the dried things and the nuts didn't look alive. So that's how I cut them out. And that's why I kept the avocado. I know that fats weren't always good and you could heal faster, but I was like, it looks alive, like it's calling me. That's kind of what I do. But now it's definitely like I will run faster. I can dance better. There is no bloat. If I just, if I did those things, and that's where I'm at. Yeah.
So it's more it's fruits, isn't it? Mostly, and salads. Are you having juices as well? Have you been on a juice cleanse?
No, and the reason I'll tell you about juicing for me. So I've had many things go wrong with me in my life and diagnosed with many things. But once you've got your stomach removed and your duodenum and the top of your intestines, when I drink, so I got diagnosed when I was very sick with what's called dumping syndrome. And it's very, very common. You almost are going to have it. And what happens is when you eat, especially high sugar foods, they dump straight into the intestine, and the sugar then goes straight into the blood. Your heart starts racing really fast. You get diarrhea. You can pass out. It's not very nice. It's almost like having a diabetic attack is what it's very similar to. When I went on this, I didn't have any of that. But when you juice, you don't have the fiber against the wall of the intestine to slow the uptake down. It is just the pure sugar. So when I first started, I would still do it. I wasn't as conscious that it was affecting me. Obviously, I had a lot going on at the start. And plus there was that psychological need when you're out. I need something in my hand. I need to do something while I'm socializing. And juices is always easy when people are having coffees. So that psychological side kind of overrid what was going on. But now I can vomit from it. And it's simply that it just goes straight down for me. And I've tried again today, even blending this morning, some watermelon, because I had a really bad experience with watermelon because it's high in sugar and the water, and it is the only fruit that seems to kind of bring back quite a lot of pain, my pain, one of my pains. Nothing else does. So I tried it again this morning because the fiber is still there, but it just goes in too fast. And then it sort of sets off something in my bowel. It's not very, and that brings back old pain. So that's why I haven't done the juicing. It's not, yeah.
It's interesting. It's good to know that. Yeah. And,
But
and
also, I want you to know that I've always say to people is I'm not there yet, if that makes sense. I've already come really far from where I was.
huge.
Like, so like when I first would have a juice, like you could feel like the old disease come back, whereas this is in a different frequency and realm. So I believe you can get there with all fresh fruit and vegetables.
I was just going to say that. Well, what you're doing is working, isn't it?
Yeah.
So amazing. So where do you see, like, moving forward now? Are you going to be doing a lot of workshops? Obviously, you're online and you're helping others, and you're on Instagram doing a lot of lives.
Yes.
So what's next for you?
Okay, so I want this website, up as my sort of foundation, because I find often I refer people there to things I've got. You probably are the same. You can go check out my YouTube. I've already done, something on that. It helps people. It helps you move and help others, because when you've already dealt with something, I would love to talk in front of a lot of people, because I believe you can reach more people in a setting like that. When you do one-on-ones, it's great for that intimate to help them. But I really feel with my story, people who have lost hope can know that there is hope. So that is where my goal is. But I would tell you, it's like the raw foods, right? Is the lives are preparing me for this, is how I feel. So you can't just get up on people always get scared of this, right? And my mind doesn't even go there yet. I'll know when my calling is. Like even this YouTube now comes quite easy to me. When I was doing these at the start, it was a big deal. Like I had to feel ready to share, but the lives are helping people. They're helping me build my voice. So so that's where that is. Now I've got another ebook coming out next year, which I'm excited about, but it's just a recipes book of like classics. I'm building a new kitchen because I'm getting a YouTube channel. So I'm going to do YouTube but my kitchen is going to be raw. There's no oven in it, and it's set out so it can be filmed in and people can see what it's like to make salads and prepare foods. So that's where I'm at now, and I'm a health coach and a raw foods coach, and I love doing that. So it's all building me up for my future. I'm not exactly sure where it will be, but this is all just like the raw food. You just take each step, and it builds so that when you get there, you've done the lives and you've done the YouTube, and you can feel confident on a stage presenting to somebody. You can't just get out of bed and present on a stage.
Yeah, exactly. It's just that consistency every day and just trusting and let it unravel. I call it that it's the compound effect. My dad little, but it's amazing. And then how it does compound. Like you don't see those subtle little changes, but they make a big difference. Huge. And look where you are now. Amazing. A year and a half on, and just sharing with the world your story, your inspirational story. It's very similar to what Alexandra Kenny was going through. She had such a young age as well to go through all that, and now having a new lease of life and just helping others. Just want to, not even just like you were saying before. You said about, it's not even just getting out of that pain, suffering. You're actually thriving. At first you just want just the pain to stop, just to be a little bit, able to do some things. But now you're doing way more than most. You're absolutely thriving and you're looking incredible. It's amazing. And I'm so glad we've only recently connected, and I'm so happy you're in this movement and sharing this journey together. It's amazing.
I think also a lot of people believe that when, like, doctors will save your life. So if you have a leg that's falling off, they will put it back on and give you a blood transfusion. But if you want to thrive after that, you have to do the work. Like all these people that are quite great after traumas, it's not from a book, it's not from a doctor, it's their consistency each day in reaching a goal. And they may not even know what the goal is, but the goal for someone might be they may write it, they may not know that they're about to write 7 bestsellers. That may not be on their agenda, but they may know they want to start a book, after doing something. But I think where I look at where a lot of people are is if you have anything out of whack, you go to a doctor. And I think that had me trapped for a long period of time. And a doctor can help you get out of pain for a period of time. Forget that it can cause more damage. They can do that, but they cannot make you thrive. Only you can make you thrive. And I believe that from what I've tried, all sorts of foods, I've tried all sorts of remedies over the years, I've tried natural practices. There is nothing like clearing your body first with raw foods and then even go back to those health practices, those natural practices. Watch what happens. Like you can't go with an acidic body. You'll still only get like what I would call relief. You won't get that like booming, shifting, life-changing, which is there for everybody.
Yeah, it gives people hope and it's empowering. Oh, amazing. So where can people find you, Skye?
It's best to find me on Instagram. I am at raw, which is ROAR.SKYE. That's my handle. You can email me at rawskye@gmail.com. Or it's probably best also you can go to my Raw website, which is Raw Skye, which is ROARSKYE.com. And you can see basically what I'm doing, but also you can reach out to me there. So you can go email, you can go Instagram, you can go many routes these days, right?
Yeah.
But probably Instagram's a great place to start. So at raw, ROAR.SKYE. And that's probably the best place to start.
And I'll put all that in the description box as well. Incredible. Definitely love to have you on. And then what we'll do as well, we'll ask if they want to ask any questions for the next one. So we'll get that one set up. Would you love to come back on? Because I'd love to know.
I would love to. I'd love to so much. I've loved talking to you. I'm so glad we've connected.
I am. Thank you so much, Skye, for coming on. I always end with a be, feel, and stay rolicious. Would you like to do that with me?
Yes, I would.
Awesome. So we say be, feel, stay rolicious.
Okay.
After 3. 1, 2, 3. Be
raw. Oh my God.
I love these bloopers. Keep them in.
Okay, go. Be, feel,
stay rolicious. And then we do a kiss. Yay! Thank you so much.